Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to do another video on the Last GameBoard. So today I wanted to concentrate on doing kind of a full walkthrough on all the current features of the GameBoard here so you guys can get an idea on all the features that this thing can actually do. Obviously, this being a beta board and software changing basically weekly, sometimes I'm adding new features, every week, or new games coming out and new changes. So these are the current features on the GameBoard right now so you guys can get a good idea. And don't forget that I do have a link down below in the description that will save you 10% off if you were to purchase your own game board. It's obviously an affiliate link, so obviously you help me out as well. But you get to save some money off the game board as well and get your pre-orders in. This is supposed to come out at either the end of the year or the beginning of 2023 is what I'm being told by them. So it's not too far away for a lot of people, and it's a really exciting thing, which is why I wanted to do this walkthrough so you guys can see some of the features that you guys can look forward to. And of course, in the future, I'll be doing more videos on this thing where it comes to actual gameplay for the game, so you can see exactly how some of these games actually work, because there's some good ones on here already, like Stop Thief is on here. We got a lot of different apps. We got Mystic Veil, all of these different things that are kind of on here that I'm scrolling through right now. We got Terraforming Mars, all these different things, and they're updating games all the time. I know of a few that are already coming out next week. So new games all the time, so obviously I'll be doing a lot of videos diving into exactly how the gameplay works with each of them so you guys can get a good idea. But for today, let's concentrate on walking through all the different features on the game board, and let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so let's go ahead and start this overview on all the features and everything you could do with the game board as of today's date. Don't forget that this is a walkthrough of all the current features on the game board. There's a lot more coming. They're always adding updates almost every week on the OS and stuff like that. So as new features get introduced, especially big features and big rollouts, I'll do separate videos on those. But I wanted to give you guys a walkthrough of everything that the game board can do right now, show you guys how things work, how the companion app works, and all that kind of stuff, so you guys can start getting a feel for what the game board can do and get you guys interested in having you guys take a look at this. So don't forget, this is beta software and things will change. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is a hardware overview. As you can see, the game board is right here in front of me, and as you can see, it is a 22-inch screen. So it's a very large screen, a lot of surface area to be able to show off these games and all that kind of stuff, which is really good. And it's 16 by 16 if you measure diagonally, so 22-inch screen, 16 by 16, a nice large square board. Square is probably the right choice for this because obviously a lot of board games out there adapt to the square nature, so it kind of fits this, and you'll see that as we do some gameplay and stuff on different videos on how that actually works on different games and how they look on a square board, but I definitely think it was the right choice. And then, of course, we have the fact that this is unlimited touch. So unlimited touch, as we talked about in a previous video, is basically you can have on tablets and other devices that are out there, usually it is a one-person device. So that means that only one person is really using it. So it's limited to 10 fingers on the board. In this case, you're using a square board, and there's going to be multiple people around the board. Up to 8 is essentially what you can have on this board. And sometimes you're going to have more than 10 fingers on the board, depending on what game you're playing. So what sets this apart from other things is this is unlimited. So it doesn't have a set limit on how many fingers can be touching the board at the same time, which gives it a lot of possibilities that we're going to dive into here later on when we start talking about some of the game features and companion app features. But just know that it has unlimited touch, which opens up doors for not just your hands that can be on the board with people touching it, but that means we can have minis on the board and all that kind of stuff that we can do with a game board like this because it can detect different pieces and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. And speaking of unlimited touch, let's go ahead and roll right into the next topic, which is what kind of I just talked about, is that this thing can detect, is combining digital play and physical play at the same time. So what does that mean? It means that you can be playing a board game, for example, like Planet Rally, and for all you guys who like to create your own maps for D&D and stuff like that, as you guys can see here in this video, it's detecting pieces that you put on the board. So, and not only does it detect the pieces that you use, but you can also have it so it detects the line of sight for you, and it knows the direction of where it's facing and where it is on the map. So this opens up a huge door for not just playing digital games, but combining digital and physical, where you can still use your own pieces and use your own custom pieces too, because essentially what it is there's a base that comes with the game board, and you can put whatever figure you want on that base because the base is doing all the work of detecting it, and then use whatever piece you want and put it on the game board, and then that means that it can use whatever you want in that scenario to detect it and do all the line of sight for you. So it's some really cool stuff and opens up a lot of doors that this thing can detect minis that you put on the board, meeples that are coming to this board as well. There's dice that you can have in the future, hopefully, where they create their own dice and you can roll it and the board detects what the dice being rolled. So you have the physical element of actually being able to roll a dice that a lot of us like doing. And it can even detect cards. Some games may come out where they have actual cards that you can hold in your hand, and then you put the card on the board and it will detect that card being played and it knows what the card's doing. So the possibilities are kind of endless with this thing as far as what it can do. And then, of course, it has the built-in speakers on it, which sound really, really loud and really good. The speakers sound really good. And it has a built-in microphone as well, because a lot of these games have online multiplayer, too. So if you play online and the game supports multiplayer with microphones, you can actually talk to other people and use that. And there's a built-in microphone for voice chat. GameBoard also has a built-in battery, which is the exact same way I'm using it right now. So you could plug it into the wall and use it that way, or you can use it on battery. It seems like I'm getting about 2 hours right now of battery life, and then I have to plug in. So 2 hours of battery life right now, or you can plug it right in and get that as well. There is an SD card on here as well for future expansion, and 64 gigabytes of space storage. So that kind of covers the hardware of the unit. So the next thing we're going to talk about in this video is the player drawers. So player drawers are a really important aspect of GameBoard on here. And like we said, you can have up to 8 players playing on the GameBoard depending on the type of game. But the main thing is creating a player drawer. Now right now it's a single tap to actually create a player drawer, but when you guys get your GameBoard it should be updated to 2 taps, which is how it should be. But if you see me tap once, that's why. But it will be 2 taps. So right now if you tap on the edge there, you can see a little icon appears, right? And if you hover over that and you open it up, you see the QR code that you got to scan there. So this is your player drawer. The first drawer that gets created is the host drawer. And then the second one that gets created, if you see that over here, that will just be a regular player on the game board. Again, up to 8 of these can be created on the board to play together. So right now it's telling you to scan a QR code, and you can see that that's the host drawer. So that's the one that has control of the game board. And what you do, and I'll show you guys here in a minute, is there's an app on the phone that's called the GameBoard Companion app. You can see it right here. I'm launching it right now on an iPhone. And you can see that this is the interface of the companion app. So what you would do in this case here to scan yourself in is after you have an account created, of course, you can do that when you get the game board. It will show you it will walk you through and create an account, and you have it signed in. You basically hit new play on here. So you take your phone, you go ahead and scan the QR code there, as you can see. And then you can see it shows up the board name right there, which is what the board name was that I created when I first started. And then you can see this shows up, which is saying, please wait for Oliveira Tabletops to start a game. So you are now signed in here, as you can see. I'm signed in here. This takes into effect the color that you chose in the app and what your player avatar is and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm signed in on the board, and now I can kind of swipe that away, and now I'm ready to play. And now you would do that with any other players that want to be ready to play. It's really important to basically sign into the Game Board app on your phone before you actually start playing a game, because some games will use it for showing different cards if there's secret information, or just keeping track of your stats and stuff like that. So definitely important to have everyone signed in before you actually launch a game. So now that we looked at signing in, let's go ahead and look at this app a little bit closer here on the game board. So this is again the companion app, and we'll start off on the right here. This is the player sign in. And you can see here, this is your information. You can sync your contacts. You can choose the color token that you saw me talk about before. You can choose your avatar right from there. And you can see achievements, because the board does have achievements that you're trying to unlock here. So you can also see achievements that you may have earned and all that kind of stuff on there. You'll also be able to click this little icon right here at the bottom, and this will actually show you your player. If someone else wants to be friends with you, this will pop up a QR code so they can add you right away. Or, of course, they can search your player tag, but you can pull up a QR code if you want. The next tab over from that is your notifications area. So if you get invited to a game, or if there's any notifications from GameBoard announcing a new game announcement, or whatever notifications you need to be had on here, this is where you would find it, and this is where you would get your notifications. Here, so this is the player list right here, and this will show you the players that you last played with on the actual game board. So if we were having 8 people signed in right now, it would show all the people that you're playing with on the game board. And here is your friends list. So you can see here, this is a friends list that you would have on here. This is called the gather section. And then you have something called guilds, and we'll dive further into this on a different video once guild progresses and adds more features. But think about guilds as something that you would create to basically have a community of players with like-minded games. So I created one already for us that I'll be sharing in a little while. And basically that means that we have a guild that's called like UrGamingTechie, for example, and you guys would all join my guild, and we would have, let's say we all decided that we wanted to have a game night on Fridays. You guys would all get notifications on the app saying, hey, Carlos has a new event. He wants to play, let's all get together and play Stop Thief, for example, on Thursday at 7 o'clock at night. it would show up on here. You can create events for your guild members, and everybody can go in there and create events and kind of just have a group of people who like playing the same type of games is basically how it's being described right now. So look for that. That is a feature that you can look forward to, and I'll dive more into that as more features get announced, but just know that that's what this section is here for. And then the first section here is, of course, the creating a new play. Like I talked about before, this screen will show you the new play, so you can join the game board or rejoin play, because I quit it out before to rejoin your avatar and be back on the game board. Now, of course, what we got to talk about with the companion app is, of course, another use case here, which is using it to show off hidden information. So let's go ahead and open up a game here so I can show you guys exactly what that does. You can see here I have a game like Anagrams pulled up, and you can see that when you use the companion app, it will actually show the letters on the screen that you can actually play. So all these letters are obviously supposed to be hidden from everyone, so everyone won't have their phone in front of them or using the companion app. And then you can kind of look at your letters and even swipe them forward, and they'll appear in front of you. You can pull them and put them wherever you want them to be, which is really cool. And you can obviously throw them backwards to you, and it will come back to your phone, and then you'll see that return back to your hand. So the companion app is really useful for secret information like this, like I talked about before, which is really cool, and hiding player information, card information, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they're going to be able to let you throw digital dice on here, so you can have dice in here and kind of roll the phone and it will show up on the screen. You know, all these different things, and we're going to go through these as we do gameplay videos on certain games. You'll see this more in depth, but I wanted to give you an overview on why the companion app is cool, because you can use letters like this and information like this being shown just to you. Now, one of the other things you can do as well is, if you don't want to use a companion app, even though you're signed in here, but you don't want to use the phone or stuff like that, and you want to do something else, you can also click on the play icon, let's say of Wings of Glory, for example, because obviously it depends on what games support what, but Wings of Glory is a great game and a great implementation of this. As you can see here, you could use your phone if you want to in this game to show your cards like we were talking about before, but what you could also do is kind of cup your hand right here, and there you can see the information as well. And now I can click on this and choose which one I want. Let's say I want to go forward and then right and then straight again. And then I can let that go. And that is my first plane my first plane over here that I assigned that to. You can choose the next one, do the same thing, show your player information, and kind of do the exact same thing as well by just cupping your hand. And the other player could be doing the same thing over there as well. So you have both options if you want to do, depending on what you want to do. You can either use the companion app to show the player card information and stuff like that, and some games may even let you do the cupping mechanism to just play on the board without having to have an app in front of you, which is really cool. Another one that does that is Texas Hold'em as well. So we talked about the hardware, we talked about player drawers on the device as well, we talked a little bit about the companion app and some of the things you can do with that, and now I just want to give you a quick overview on the main menu here. So you can see there's 3 different icons on here. There is the play section, there's the settings, and there's the my profile section. Again, some of these things are going to change in the future, and we'll have new additions on here. That's why there's a blank space here. New features will roll out. We'll talk about that in a future video when they roll out. Here is the library of games, as you can see here, and what's really nice is each of the games will show you how many players can actually play that game. Like you can see here 1 to 4, then you can see how long the game usually takes, and you can see 40 minutes, and then you can see the status of it, whether it's new or whatever the case may be, or if it's an early game, you know, things like that on here. When you click on a game, for example, like this, and you click on Terraforming Mars, as you can see here, this is the default layout of the games right now. You can see you have the nice artwork on the top for Terraforming Mars. There's the play icon right there. There's the preview images that are here right now. You have a Board Game Geek rating over here as well. That's taking a rating based on everything that us think about the game on the game board when we rate it right there. You can see who published it, how many players are right there again, and the time and all that kind of stuff. And then you have features listed right here. So for example, on here, there's a lot of different features that this game uses. For example, companion obviously means that it has the ability to use the companion app like I showed you guys previously. In-game purchases means obviously some of the games will have like different maps you can buy or different expansions you can buy that we're used to, things like that. Revivable on here is basically means that if you pause the game or that has the ability to save that game and you can continue it from later. User-made content, obviously, and mods available and stuff like that is something that may happen in the future when it comes to having people create content and stuff that may be available. Then there's the enhanced touch. A lot of the games say that. It just means that obviously the touchscreen is being used. So with enhanced touch features, like some of them may be the cupping mechanism that I showed you before to show you cards, things like that. Then you have the next option here that's called, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. We got RVNE. enabled. Essentially, that is the player pieces that I talked about before. And the player pieces are actually sitting right here. These are what you would get with the game board. And you can see that these are little player bases, but they're obviously able to be detected by the game board. You could put a mini into here and stand it up, and then you'll be able to see that on the game board. And that's essentially what that means, that you can actually use tokens like this on the game board to work on there. Then there's network play, which obviously means you can play online with people. Subscription is obviously meaning in the future they're planning on offering a subscription, so you can just pay 1 month, flat fee per month, and access all the games on here. Or they're obviously planning to also let you just buy the game outright, from what I heard. So you'll have both options, but that's what subscription means. It's part of the subscription. Board-to-board play means that you can play this game to be able to play online versus board-to-board. Network play that I was talking about before would mean globally, so you can play with maybe other players on Steam if the game was ported over. Like, it has more compatibility with playing with even more people, which is really cool. Stream play is basically a future feature that's going to be enabled, which lets you stream this board game to right onto an app like on your Windows PC to maybe stream it to Twitch or stuff like that. Right now, there is an HDMI out port on the system, so you can just connect it to your capture card and you can still stream it to Twitch. But that feature, stream play, is basically going to be able to stream the game board right to your desktop, and you don't even need that HDMI cable, and you could just put it right there on Twitch. So that's really cool. And grid enabled on the bottom is you can actually connect multiple. If you have multiple game board devices, and let's say you created a large map for D&D, you can actually link these together one by one. So like you can have two of these side by side and create a giant board with a giant map. So that's what grid enabled means. You can make the board even bigger, which hopefully I get to try that one day, because that sounds awesome to be able to do that with certain games. And it seems like Terraforming Mars is one of them. So you can kind of expand the board out even more by linking these devices together. Going back to the main menu here, you can see that little icon right there on the top right. That essentially means that you can update the game because that means there's a pending update. So if I click on this and you see that icon, you can see there's an update available right there, and that's how you would update a game. If you see that icon in the main menu, you know that there's an update available for that game. We have the settings icon here that we talked about before on the left-hand side. That's currently being revamped. There are some settings in there right now where you can adjust the volume and stuff like that, but it's just the Android settings, and that's currently being completely revamped, so no reason to go in there, but obviously settings are there. And then, of course, the profile section here. This shows you your achievements that I was talking about before. You can see some of the achievements on here that you can actually get first in 50 game sessions, so that's pretty cool. And have a 30-minute turn, which sounds crazy if you're making other people wait 30 minutes. But all these different achievements that you can have in the game, and then other people can obviously see that you earn these achievements when they look at your player profile, which is a cool way to show how many games you've played. And hopefully they keep adding more achievements, because I think that's a really cool feature to have on here. And then on the top here, you see your player tag and your friend code. If someone else were to add you, that would be your friend code that you could see on the game board. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video and walkthrough of all the game features of the game board. If you guys have any questions about what you guys saw in all of the video today on any of the features that I talked about or any of the games that I showed off and all that stuff, definitely leave those comments down below. And stay tuned for future videos on deep dives on each of the games, which is what we're going to venture into next. Now that we've done the walkthrough, we're going to go ahead and do deep dives into specific games on each video. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time.